Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 2.4B. I've entitled this video French and Dutch Settlements. This video is going to cover pages 52 to 53. French and Dutch Settlements. French explorers and settlers trailed the Spanish by many years, but the French did establish settlements in North America. At first, the French were most interested in natural resources, including fish and furs. French trappers went far into the interior of North America and traded with Native Americans. France built forts to protect its trade. French missionaries followed the traders. In 1663, New France became a royal colony. The new royal governor supported expanded exploration. So now we can answer a couple of questions. Number one, at first, what were the French mostly interested in getting in North America? Natural resources like fish and furs. Number two, who did the French trappers trade with in North America? The Native Americans that were already living there. Number three, what did the French build in North America to protect their traders? They built forts all along the rivers in places where they felt it would need protection. They built forts. Exploring the Mississippi River. In the 1670s, two French explorers, a fur trader, Louis Joliet, and a priest, Jacques Marquette, traveled the Mississippi River by canoe. Joliet and Marquette hoped to find precious metals. They were also looking for a northwest passage. When they realized that the Mississippi flowed south into the Gulf of Mexico rather than west into the Pacific, they headed back upriver. And that is an important journey for us here in Illinois as they traveled through Illinois. Question number 4. What important river did Louis Joliet and Father Marquette explore for the French? The important boundary of western Illinois, the Mississippi River. Question 5. That's not until the next slide. In 1682, Robert Cavalier de La Salle followed the Mississippi all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. He claimed the region for France, calling it Louisiana, in honor of Louis XIV. In 1718, the French founded New Orleans. French explorers and missionaries traveled west to the Rocky Mountains and the Rio Grande. Now we could do question 5. When French explorer Robert de La Salle traveled the Mississippi River all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, he claimed all the region for France. What did he call the region? He called it Louisiana. Question 6. What important French city did the French begin in 1718 that would eventually become the most important city in the state of Louisiana? The city of New Orleans. Any Saints fans listening to this? Well, there is your city. New France and New Netherland. French settlement in North America advanced slowly. New France was made up of estates along the St. Lawrence River. Estate holders brought in settlers in exchange for land. These tenant farmers paid rent and worked for their lord for a set period of time each year. The French got along well with the Native Americans. French trappers and missionaries lived among them, learned their languages, and respected their ways. The missionaries had come to convert Native Americans to Catholicism, but they did not try to change their customs. Because the French colony grew slowly, it did not seem to pose a threat to the Native Americans and their lands. Question number 7. How did tenant farming work in New France? Well, the tenant farmers, they would pay rent to the lord, and they would work that land for a set period of time, and that's how they would make a living. Question 8. How did the French treat the Native Americans in North America? Well, they treated them very well. They learned their languages, they lived among them, and they respected their ways. Unlike later on, the British are going to not treat the Native Americans the same way. So the French were much nicer, kinder, respectful to the Native Americans that they had found in North America. Question 9. Why did the Native Americans not feel that the French were a threat to their way of life? Well, the French colonies weren't growing all that fast. They weren't building in population quickly, and so the Native Americans didn't see it was much of a threat, and the French had been nice to the Native Americans, so they didn't see this as a threat to their way of life, as would happen when the British would come and change that dynamic. The Netherlands, or the Dutch, was a small country with few natural resources and limited farmland, and you can see that on the map of Europe. It's not a very large country. This is why the Dutch were anxious to set up a North American colony. After Hudson's voyage in 1609, the Dutch began to explore North America. The Netherlands also had a large fleet of trading ships that sailed all over the world. In 1621, the Netherlands created the Dutch West India Company to run its trade between the Americas and Africa. In 1623, the company took over control of the Dutch colony in North America, called New Netherland. The heart of the colony was New Amsterdam. The town was built on the tip of Manhattan Island. In 1626, Governor Peter Minuit bought the island from the Manhattoes people for 60 guilders, or about $24 worth of trade goods. And you think about where that is today in our history, that is New York City, and just think about what $24 could buy you in New York City. Not a lot. So now we can answer question number 10. Why did the Netherlands want to set up colonies in North America? Well, because as you can see from the map, they weren't a large country. They didn't have a lot of natural resources. They didn't have a lot of farmland. So they were looking to expand their power, expand their opportunities for resources. And so a new opportunity in the new world was exactly what they were looking for. Thank you for watching. That's all I had today. But of course, there's going to be a meme or a joke. Now, I couldn't find one that really captured anything from this material except for fur. And so this is a little bit of a stretch, but I found a Far Side cartoon, and it goes like this. It's Vinny, all right. It's his nose, his mouth, his fur, but his eyes. There's something not quite right about his eyes. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.